All right, so today we're diving into something that's been all over the news lately.
Yeah.
The Panama Canal.
Mm-hmm.
It's I mean, everyone knows it's like a super important shipping route,
Yeah.
but there's all this talk about like who's really calling the shots.
Yeah. Who really controls it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we've got like articles and some history
Mm-hmm.
and even some like kind of crazy claims that we're going to look at.
Some of them are pretty wild.
Yeah. So basically we want to like cut through all the noise
Yeah. Get to the bottom of it.
and help you guys really understand what's going on with this this crucial waterway.
Yeah. It's really interesting how just one canal
Right.
can cause so much tension around the world.
Right. It's wild. So, okay, let's like start with the basics.
Okay.
Officially, the Panama Canal Authority.
Uh-huh. The ACP.
Yeah, the ACP, they've been in control since 99
Right.
when the U.S. like handed it over.
Mm-hmm.
But is it really that simple?
Well, the ACP, they set it up
Ah.
to be independent, from the Panamanian government.
Makes
So
sense.
they wouldn't be affected by everyday politics.
Right.
They just focus on keeping the canal running smoothly,
Right.
maintaining everything, setting the fees.
Okay.
And they even protect the environment around the canal.
So they're not just like traffic cops.
No.
They're like taking care of this huge global asset.
Yeah, exactly. They have to think about the big picture,
Yeah.
balancing global trade with the ecosystem there.
Yeah, that's a tough job.
It is.
Okay, so speaking of like global players,
Yeah.
we got to talk about China.
Mhm.
Like we can't ignore that.
Right.
Remember when Trump
Oh,
made all those claims about China controlling the canal?
yeah, he was pretty vocal about that.
He was. He even threatened to like take it back,
Yeah.
which caused a lot of tension.
Yeah, for sure. It was a big diplomatic incident.
Okay, so for our listeners, like,
Mm-mm.
why should we care about some,
Right.
former president's kind of crazy claims?
Well, I mean, even though they weren't true,
Right.
it shows how much anxiety there is
Yeah.
about China's growing power, especially in places like the Panama Canal.
So China's been investing a lot in Panama,
They have been, yeah.
especially in like ports and infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. A lot of infrastructure projects.
And they even controlled 2 big ports
Yeah.
right next to the canal.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe they don't like directly control the canal,
Right.
but that's got to give them some serious leverage.
Yeah, it does.
So is this just like smart business?
Well,
Or is there something bigger going on here?
China says it's part of their Belt and Road Initiative.
Oh, yeah, that big global development thing,
Exactly. But
Yeah.
some people think it's more strategic.
like a way to gain influence.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine if China could control,
Right.
even a little bit, the flow of goods through the canal.
That's kind of scary, actually.
It could be, yeah.
Okay, but at least there's that treaty, right?
Yeah.
The one that's supposed to keep things stable.
You're talking about the neutrality treaty.
Yeah, from way back in 77.
Right, yeah. It basically guarantees that the
Yeah.
canal stays open to everyone,
Okay,
whether it's peacetime or war.
that makes sense.
Panama's in charge of defending it and running it day to day.
Uh-huh.
But the U.S., they can step in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if they think the canal's neutrality is threatened.
So like a safety net.
Kind of, yeah.
But it also sounds kind of shaky.
It's a delicate balance.
Right, because that treaty's old.
Yeah.
Like, can it really deal with
Mm-hmm.
modern ways of exerting power?
That's the big question.
Right.
I mean, it was written to prevent a full-on takeover,
Mm-hmm.
but what about more subtle stuff?
Right, like economic pressure or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, things like debt traps
Oh, yeah.
or special trade deals.
Right.
That's what people are worried about now.
It's like way more complicated.
It is.
Just who's physically in control. We've got Panama officially running it,
Uh-huh.
but then China's got all this influence,
Mm-hmm.
and the U.S. is still lurking in the background.
Right, with that treaty.
Like, how do we even start to figure this out?
Well, to really understand it,
Yeah.
we need to look beyond just the official story
Okay.
and think about the money.
Right, because the Panama Canal is all about global trade.
It is. It's a huge part of the global economy.
And money talks.
Always.
So let's dive into that then.
Okay, let's do it. So you can think of the Panama Canal like a global toll booth.
Okay, a toll booth.
Yeah, ships have to pay these big fees to
Right.
pass through.
Right.
And that's a lot of money for Panama.
Okay, but it's not just about the money they get directly, right?
No, it's about the whole economy.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Okay.
Faster shipping.
Yeah.
That means lower costs for businesses.
Right.
And then that can mean lower prices for you and me.
Oh, okay.
And it makes products more competitive.
Uh-huh.
So it's good for everyone.
Right, the whole global economy.
Exactly.
Okay, so the canal, like, keeps things moving?
Yeah, keeps things flowing.
And
Now,
everyone benefits.
in theory, yeah.
But how does this all connect to, like,
Uh-huh.
the power stuff we were talking about?
Well, those fees
Yeah.
and how efficient the canal is,
Uh-huh.
that's where China's investments come in.
Okay, how so?
So they control these key ports near the canal.
Right, the ones we talked about.
Yeah, and that gives Chinese companies a real advantage.
So it's not about controlling the canal itself.
Right.
It's about controlling the access points.
Exactly.
Like owning the on-ramps to a highway.
Yeah, perfect analogy.
Okay, I like that.
So they can influence the flow of goods
Uh-huh.
and even get better rates for their own ships.
Oh, so it's cheaper for them.
Exactly.
And then their products are even more competitive.
Exactly. It's a long game they're playing.
Wow. So China's investing today
Mm-hmm.
for economic and maybe political power tomorrow.
It's a smart strategy
Right.
if
Yeah.
it works.
Okay, but what about the U.S.?
Yeah, good point.
They might not run the canal anymore,
Right.
but they're still like a huge player in global trade.
Oh, yeah. The U.S. is still a major user of the canal,
Okay.
and their Navy wants to make sure it's secure.
Right. Remember that neutrality treaty?
Oh, yeah, the one that lets the U.S. intervene?
Yeah, exactly.
So that adds another layer to all of this.
It's like everyone's playing chess.
Yeah, constantly.
But what about the Panamanians? It's their country,
Right.
their canal.
It's easy to forget about them.
Yeah, where do they fit in with all this?
Well, for them, the canal is more than just a waterway.
I bet.
It's a symbol
Yeah.
of their independence, their
Yeah.
sovereignty,
Okay.
and they're proud of it.
That makes sense.
But it's also a huge challenge for them,
yeah, I can imagine.
trying to balance their own interests
Uh-huh.
with all these global superpowers.
Right, like everyone wants a piece of the pie.
Exactly.
So what do?
Well, they have to find a way to benefit from the canal's money without giving up their control.
Right.
And they have to make sure the benefits are shared with everyone in Panama,
Okay.
not just like foreign companies or
Yeah.
governments.
That's a tough spot to be in.
It is.
Like holding the world's most valuable property.
Yeah. And everyone wants a piece.
So it sounds like control
Mm-hmm.
is about more than just like military power
It is.
or who officially owns it.
Right.
It's about influence.
Yeah. It's about having a say
Mm-hmm.
in the decisions
All right.
and being able to like shape the future of the canal.
And the future of global trade.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the official story
Mm-hmm.
and then all this like behind the scenes maneuvering
Yeah.
and the economic stuff driving it all.
Mm-hmm. It's complicated.
It is a lot to process.
It is.
So like, what are the main takeaways?
Well, I think the biggest one
Yeah,
is that the Panama Canal isn't just some line on a map.
right. It's more than that.
Yeah, it shows us how connected the world really is
Uh-huh.
and how a problem in one place can
And
affect the whole planet.
Like that butterfly effect thing?
Exactly. Yeah, and we saw how the canal
Mm-hmm.
is connected to like global powers
Right.
and the economies of countries
Yeah.
and even like regular people's lives.
It's crazy.
It is, yeah, and it also shows how power is changing.
Okay.
In the
That-
past, it was all about like armies and territory.
Right.
But now it's more about economics,
Uh-huh.
strategic investments,
Okay.
and influencing things in subtle ways.
Right, like China with the ports.
Exactly.
It's like a whole new game.
It is, yeah. And we need to adapt.
Okay, so what do we do?
Well, we can't just think about control
Uh-huh.
in the old way.
Like who's got the biggest guns?
Yeah. Or think that treaties will automatically protect us.
So we need to be more flexible.
Yeah. And understand the nuances.
Okay.
And maybe rely less on like brute force.
More diplomacy and stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
So the Panama Canal, it's like a mini version
Yeah.
of all the challenges we're facing.
In the 21st century.
And it shows that we need to work together
Yeah, collaborate.
instead of always fighting.
Right.
And understand that we all share this planet.
Exactly. It's a global commons,
Right.
and the canal is a shared resource.
Yeah, so everyone needs to take care of it.
Exactly. And that means recognizing that everyone benefits.
From the superpowers to the local communities.
Oh, yeah, everyone.
So where do we go from here?
That's the big question.
Yeah. What's next for the canal?
And for global trade.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
But we need to think about it.
We do.
Because it affects all of us.
Exactly. And we need to make sure the canal keeps working
Uh-huh.
and stays neutral
Right.
and benefits everyone.
And just a few powerful countries or companies.
Exactly.
So this is like a call to action.
I think so.
To like think about the big picture.
Yes.
And how our choices affect everyone.
Exactly.
Okay, well, this deep dive has been amazing.
It has.
We've learned so much about the canal.
We have.
Its history,
Mm-hmm.
its importance to trade,
Uh-huh. and all the complex stuff happening around it.
And it's made us think differently about power and control.
For sure.
And how we can make the world a better place.
That's the goal.
So to our listeners,
Yeah.
we want to leave you with this,
Okay.
the story of the Panama Canal.
Mm-hmm.
It's not over.
Not even close.
It's still being written.
Every day.
And we all have a part in writing the next chapter.
We do.
So stay curious.
Yes.
Stay engaged. And keep asking the tough questions.
The world needs more of that.
Because the world,
Yeah.
just like the Panama Canal, it's full of challenges.
It is.
But it's also full of possibilities.
That's the important part.
So we've talked about a lot.
Yeah, we have.
With this whole Panama Canal thing. From like how it works and the history to all the like power struggles and economic stuff. It is. So like now that we're wrapping up, what's the big picture?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is
Yeah.
the world is way more connected than we realize.
Right, like everything affects everything else.
Exactly. And the Panama Canal,
Uh-huh.
it's like a perfect example of that.
Okay, how so?
Well, like a problem in one place
Yeah.
can cause problems all over the world.
Right, like that butterfly effect.
Exactly. And we saw how the canal
Yeah.
affects like global powers.
Right.
And different countries' economies. And even regular people's lives.
Yeah, thousands of miles away.
It's crazy.
It is. And it also shows how like the old ways of thinking about power
Right.
aren't really working anymore.
Yeah, like it used to be all about armies and stuff.
Right, who's got the most tanks?
Exactly, but now it's different.
Okay, so what is it now?
Well, it's more about like economic influence,
Okay.
making smart investments and like subtly influencing things.
Right, like China's doing with the ports.
Exactly. It's a whole new game.
Yeah, so how do we play this new game?
Well, we got to be smarter.
Okay.
We can't just rely on the old ways of thinking.
Right, like military force or treaties.
Yeah, we need to be more flexible
Okay,
and understand the nuances.
right. 'Cause the things are more complicated now.
They are, yeah. And we need to rely less on like brute force.
More diplomacy and cooperation.
Exactly.
So the Panama Canal is kind of like
Yeah.
a microcosm of the challenges we're facing.
In the 21st century, yeah.
It shows that we need to like move away from this like us versus them mentality
Right.
and start working together more.
Yeah, collaborate more.
And understand that we all share this planet.
Exactly. It's a global commons.
Right. The canal is like a shared resource.
Yeah, and everyone needs to take care of it.
Okay, so everyone benefits if it's working properly.
Right. From the superpowers to the local communities.
Right, everyone. So, like, where do we go from here?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah, what's the future of the canal?
And what does it mean for global trade?
Like, is this a call to action for our listeners?
I think so, yeah.
To, like, think about the big picture.
Yeah, and how our choices affect the whole world.
Okay, well, this deep dive has been really thought-provoking.
It has.
We've learned so much about the canal and all the, like, geopolitical stuff surrounding it.
It's fascinating.
And it's made us think differently about the world.
Yeah, hopefully it's done the same for our listeners.
Yeah, so to everyone listening, remember that the story of the Panama Canal, it's not over.
It's still being written.
Yeah, every day.
And we all have a part in writing that story.
So stay curious, everyone.
Yeah.
Stay informed.
And keep asking the tough questions.
Because the world,
Yeah.
like the Panama Canal, it's full of challenges.
It is.
But it's also full of possibilities.
That's the important thing to remember.
Absolutely.
Oh.
All right, that's it for our deep dive today.
Thanks for listening, everyone.